So I have never owned a dog before, but that isn't gonna stop me from making this video. But before I talk about them, I think I need to address something very important. Cats versus dogs. Everyone always gets into arguments about which is a better pet. Like, they even made a whole movie about it. I can see both sides of the story. Who do I think is better? Well, considering that I'm making a video about dogs before making a video about cats, and I'm also putting the title of the video Dog Stories, I've also never even owned a cat, so it's nice to say that I'm actually a bird person. Got him good. Although I've never owned any dogs myself, I've had a lot of neighbors, friends, and family who had dogs. The first dog was back when I used to live in that horrible neighborhood. We shared a duplex. Man, I remember I walked into a room and I just saw this huge cockroach.
Hello there.
Like, it was this big. The duplex was pretty much run down. There was barely a backyard, and the neighbors used to do a lot of shady things. And I tried to make this a family-friendly channel, but these people didn't treat their dog well. They didn't feed him. They would leave him outside in the stormy conditions, and other things I can't talk about. Despite him not being my dog, it really did feel like he was. I was around 7 or 8 years old when I first had him with me. I don't remember giving a name, so for the sake of this video, I'll call him Bobby. But before I can talk about him, I have to talk about my other neighbor. His name was Victor, and he was around 3 years older than me, I think, maybe? I was pretty much under his influence. I would get home and we would play Skylanders with him. Do you guys know what that is? I feel like that was pretty big at that time. I remember that game and oh my goodness, I have so much nostalgia over it. It's a little unfortunate that's under the grave right now, buried. He was the confident one with the dog. And before you make fun of me for being scared of that dog, he was a pretty big dog, alright, to be fair. He was probably around my size. So imagine when we play tag, and then all of a sudden, this big sized dog starts chasing you down. I would start running. If you would watch it from a distance, it would look like we were playing. But in reality, I was running for my life. I would hide behind Victor. We would play behind his backyard, which actually looked like a backyard. I can't remember much about that dog. I was around elementary when I had my memories with him. So, I think we should talk about the next dog. My next dog experience was around middle school, and at this point I moved to another house. Luckily, the neighborhood wasn't as bad as it was before, and we had some neighbors around my same age. And they had a dog named Pancho. It was a chihuahua. And let me tell you something. Chihuahuas are some rude animals. And you know what? They hate me. Like, all of them. Not a single one has ever liked me. And you know what? I'm gonna say it. Chihuahuas are not my favorite dog. And especially not this one. He caused me trauma. Every time I got off the bus, I would be walking all hunky-dory, and then all of a sudden this dog would start barking like it's the end of the world. I would be so nervous because the leash would be hanging by a thread. Sometimes the dog wouldn't be there, but as soon as I may get up the road, this dog would come out the back and start chasing me. That was so terrifying at the time. I would literally throw my backpack and just run for it. I had to get up the trampoline and I have to wait for my neighbor to go and pick him up. I'll be honest with you, that was kind of embarrassing. This time I don't really have an excuse for being scared of that dog. He was basically like not even 1/5 of my size. But now that I'm older, those dogs don't scare me. And it's really tempting. You get that feeling too? Like when they're barking at you and whenever you're walking down the street, they be acting real confident until you take that one step and then all of a sudden they be like,
Bye, have a great time.
I couldn't go outside often because he would always be in the front yard. After a few years, they got a new dog. This dog was much nicer, and he was younger than Pancho. He was always excited to see us. He was very playful, and we would even put him on the trampoline. And obviously we didn't want to start jumping. We didn't want to send him up to the stratosphere. Unlike the last two dogs, I was much more comfortable around him. And I know Pancho and I had our issues, we had our difficulties, but it was a normal feeling in my daily life for this little rascal to be barking at me. Some days he didn't even bark, which is a good sign, right? He must have liked me at some point. One fateful day, I was walking from home as usual. As I was walking up the driveway, I noticed something different. Something was a little off, as you would say. There wasn't a tiny chihuahua chasing me down. It was a little odd, but I proceeded my day. However, little did I know that I would never see him again. The owners unfortunately had to give him away. I didn't know how to feel. Like, I was glad that he wasn't going to chase me anymore. I can finally go outside and touch some grass. But that also meant I would never see him again. It was really a bittersweet memory. Well, at least I still have this little fellow. He ran away. Well, let's move on to the next dog. Or should I say 3.
FBI, open up!
So I actually do own dogs, technically, but back in Mexico. My uncle takes care of them. And unlike the other 2, which are pretty small and medium-sized dogs, these were some hunks. They were some buffed animals. They were 3 German Shepherds. They might look very intimidating, but in reality, they are just some sweethearts. However, they'll be very hungry. If you aren't careful at night, you might want to keep those lights on just to be safe. No, I'm just messing with you. They don't bite. But you know what they do? They bark. And oh my goodness, they bark so loudly. My first night trying to sleep in Mexico was so hard. I needed to be completely silent. However, instead, all I hear was... There would be so many dogs in the streets. There would be one over here and one over there. Like, my goodness, I would not be surprised if there's a dog right here. Wait.